Hey everybody, Brian here from the Star Wars Canon Podcast. Hey, I wanted to throw out a video real quick, and I shouldn't even say real quick because this is gonna be a doozy. There's some stuff I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to let you guys in on, and then I had a mailbag question that I was going to address. And you guys, you don't see me rant very often, but you're gonna see me rant this time. So right off the bat, I hope you guys are having a great Memorial Day weekend. It's a holiday it's pretty sacred to me. For those of you who know, Memorial Day means a lot to me. It's the one day a year that I actually drink. I have a beer for my friends. So I hope you guys are having a great Memorial Day weekend. I hope you guys are having a safe weekend. I'm letting you guys know this isn't going to be a full episode. I didn't do an episode this week because it's Memorial Day weekend. And because I've been working so hard on the mobile app, and the mobile app, for those of you that don't know, it's coming along great. It's damn near done. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm pretty sure it's not just Vader's lightsaber lighting at the end. I'm hoping it's not Vader's lightsaber I'm seeing ignite at the end of the tunnel that's gonna cut me down and say, nope, you're out. So I'm getting real close to being done with it. But that's why I didn't have an episode of the podcast this week. I was working on that instead, and you know, it's very surreal knowing that this app is almost finished. I was looking back and I didn't realize that it had been this long. I didn't realize that the app, that the original conception of the app was all the way back in February of 2017. I didn't realize that it had been that long since I'd actually first come up with the idea and started putting together a list of features and stuff like that. So the app itself has been in production for 3 years. But being physically worked on for the last year. So I'm very excited about this app, and I'm letting you guys know right off the bat. I started a Kickstarter campaign for it. Now, I wasn't counting on having to start a Kickstarter campaign for it, and so I feel like I owe you guys a little bit of an explanation on why I've been sitting here talking about how the app's coming out, and then all of a sudden, boom! Hey guys, I need $1,000. So what happened was I've spent a year and a half working on this mobile app and putting it together, telling you guys about it, not promoting it yet, but kind of letting you guys know, hey, this is coming. And a while back, I put out a video showing kind of the features that the app was going to have, kind of what the app was looking like so far, some of the things that were going to be implemented in it, stuff like that, how it worked, how it was laid out. And I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I was terrified to show you guys what the app was looking like so far. It's not because I was unconfident in what it was looking like or anything like that. Star Wars fans nowadays can be a very volatile thing. They can be very volatile, nowadays when it comes to certain things, especially when it comes to the new canon, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But I was very nervous about showing some of the app. Matter of fact, I recorded the video. And if you guys can't tell if you watched it, I was so nervous during that whole video because, I was showing something that I'd worked on for a year and a half and I put my heart and soul into and just poured my time into. I made the video and I uploaded it. And Kirsty wasn't here when I did it. I called her and I said, it's getting ready to go live. It's getting ready to premiere. I'm terrified. I'm so nervous. And she said, you shouldn't be. You don't have anything to be nervous about. This thing is awesome. It's going to be great. Everybody's going to love it. I was like, all right, fine. So I sat there and I watched the premiere video with you guys. I sat there and watched it. What you guys were watching, I was sitting there watching at the same time. And I could tell how nervous I was in the video. And I was nervous to see kind of what everybody's reaction was going to be to it, because I didn't want to spend all this time on something that everybody's going to look at and be like, well, this sucks. I don't know why he's even telling us about it. You know what I mean? But the feedback that I started receiving from you guys, and even after the video premiered, was overwhelmingly positive. And some of you guys had suggestions, which is awesome. I've read every comment on that video. I'm still reading every comment on that video, and I'm taking all those suggestions to heart. I really am. And some of the things, matter of fact, one of the big things that everybody suggested, I implemented. And some of the other things are great ideas. Like, as far as like the canon timeline goes, how maybe an option of having check marks up at the top where you can check if you just want to see films, novels, and comics. Then it takes everything else out and you just see those. That's a great idea. I don't know if I can implement it on the platform I'm on right now with the mobile app, but it is definitely something that I have written down that I'm going to be looking into for a future update for the app. So just because the app launches without it doesn't mean that it's not coming eventually. So just keep that in mind. I'm taking every single suggestion to heart and trying to figure out a way to implement it, because when I work on the mobile app, I try to make a mobile app that I would like to use. That's something that if somebody else had come up with it and released it and I saw it, I try to make it something that I would go, yeah, definitely. I definitely could use that. That's awesome. Yeah, great job. I'll pay $1 for this. So every time I'm doing something to it, I try to make it like that. I try to make it something that everybody would like to use. For those of you who have already donated to the Kickstarter campaign, there are no words to explain to you how thankful I am that you guys believe in me and in a product that I'm coming up with so much that you are willing to donate. And some of you guys have absolutely blown me away with some of your donations. Some of the guys, I shouldn't even say guys, the girls too. Some of you have already donated. I think the highest donation was $72 so far. A couple of 50s, a couple of 40s. And there are no words to describe to you how thankful I am for you guys and for believing in me and believing in this and my passion project, something that I've wanted to put out for you guys. That means so much to me that there are no words to really express to you. I started the Kickstarter campaign because I didn't plan on it. What happened, I got down to, I think it was Friday or Saturday, or Thursday or Friday. I think it was Friday I started it. And I started crunching the numbers, and I realized how expensive it was going to be to have this mobile app released for the first year. And it was going to be, I think it was like $1,012 is what it was going to cost to have the mobile app launch and be live for the first year. I don't have that sitting around. And I started looking at it. And I was like, oh man, are you kidding me? I'm going to have to wait 2 or 3, 4 more months to kind of get the money saved back to be able to put this thing out. And, you know, I was disappointed, not in anybody except myself. I was disappointed in myself. I felt like I'd let myself down. I felt like I'd let a lot of people down because I kept talking about how I've been working on this app and how I was so excited to put it out. And then now I'm going to have to wait even longer to put it out. And I got bummed and kind of, I was at work when I realized it. And I was just like, are you kidding me? And I sat down for a while and I was just like, man, this sucks. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I'm not going to let this keep me down. I'm not going to let this down. This isn't going to be this isn't the end of the mobile app. This isn't getting delayed. We're doing this. So on a whim, I decided to start a Kickstarter campaign. And, I wasn't even sure if it was going to work or not, because I was kind of making a Kickstarter to see if people were donate enough to really let me know that people were interested in an app like that. And I started the Kickstarter campaign and I shared it out to a bunch of people on my messenger list first. And then I shared it to the Facebook page and I think to the YouTube channel later on that day. And the response that I've gotten so far was just completely unexpected. You guys have literally blown me away with your generosity, and it's just like I said, there's no words to describe. Just after the first day, we were already almost a quarter of the way there. We have almost a quarter of it, and I can't even believe that. The campaign is running until June 26th at 7 p.m. Central Time, my time. So you've got plenty of time to donate if you guys want to help make this thing a reality. Like I said, we only need $1,000 for the first year. That's all it's going to be. After that, I can take care of it from then on. If the app doesn't generate enough revenue through the paywall and the Canon timeline to keep it going, I can supplement it. It's no big deal. I can keep it going. It's just getting it started and getting it live is what I lack the means to do. So if you guys feel like helping at all, I would definitely appreciate it. You guys really have no idea what it means to me so far. Matter of fact, I was telling Kirsty the other day when I started reading some of the donations to her, I was tearing up when I was telling her, and I told her I have no idea how I'm going to thank everybody for this. I have no idea how I can put into words and to express what it means to me. Because it's not just an app you guys are helping make happen. It's part of my dream. It's part of something I believe in, and it's part of a passion project that I've been working on. So for me, it means so much more to me than what you guys even realize. So for those of you that don't know, who have been sitting here listening to me get all mushy and gushy over this thing, the mobile app is going to have a lot in it. It's going to have a link where you can listen to the Star Wars Canon Podcast, audio only, on a media player inside the app, so you never miss an episode. I know a lot of people listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, stuff like that, but this way, if you get the app, you can listen to everything inside the app. There'll be a link to the YouTube channel, so you'll be able to see all the new YouTube videos as I'm putting them out, whether it be reaction videos to trailers or, clips of the podcast. The video version of the podcast will be on there as well. Anytime I go live with a Q&A or an episode of the podcast, it'll be on there as well, so you can watch it all inside the app. You'll be able to send in a question to the Star Wars Canon Podcast. There'll be a link where you can just click on it and straight into an email where you guys can send me a question. There'll be social media links for the Facebook and the Patreon and the Twitter. At Patreon, if you guys decide you want to help support the podcast in any way, definitely would appreciate that. The entire Canon timeline is going to be on there, broken down by story arc, color, and by the old BBY, ABY dates. And like I said earlier, that will be the only part of the app behind a $1 paywall. The whole app itself is going to be free. But that I'm going to put that part of it behind a paywall, because really that's the only part of it I think legally I can put behind a paywall. Because the rest of it I didn't come up with. I've never written anything that was canon, so I don't think I can actually get money off of that. So the timeline is the one thing that I really put together myself, and it's something that I think it's the only thing I can put behind a paywall legally. But that will be there, and really the only reason it's going to be behind a paywall is to help maintain the app. I'm not looking to make any money off the app at all. It's just something where anything I make off the app is going to go right back into the app, whether it be to make it better, to update it, maybe to move it to new platforms so I can add some more abilities or anything like that. But anything that I make on the app is going right back into the app. So what you guys have shown me with this Kickstarter thing is that you believe in it. And anybody who is willing to download the app and pay that $1 for the Canon timeline shows me they believe in the app, and that they deserve to have an app that is just continually getting better and better and evolving. So all the money is going right back into the app for that. On top of that, we're going to have links to purchase every piece of Canon material in almost any format, not from the app, but through the app. There'll be a list chronologically of all these novels and comic books and video games and TV shows and all this stuff. There'll be links where you can go to have access to all of it. Because when I was trying to keep up with the Canon material, when I try to keep up with it, there's so many different links that you have to go to find comic books, novels, all this other stuff. And I wanted to make this app where it was all in one place, all in one spot where you could just find it. It's a great tool for anybody wanting to keep up with the Canon. I'm going to be adding a list of upcoming Canon material. Everything that we know is coming out in the upcoming weeks will be on there, so you guys will be able to have the release date, so you guys will know what to look forward to. There's going to be a community feed page on there, kind of like a Facebook feed, where you guys can post your own reviews, pictures of what you're reading, kind of your experiences with the new Star Wars canon, stuff like that. But I'm also going to be adding another page to it, a donor list. And that donor list is going to have the list, it's going to have the names of everybody that goes to the Kickstarter page and donates more than $2. $2 or more. If you guys donate $2 or more to the Kickstarter, your name will be physically attached to the mobile app, and I'm not going to take it off. That will always be on there as a thank you to you guys, letting everybody else know that downloads the app in the future, that because of these people, this thing is a reality. So because without these people, it wouldn't exist. So your name will be physically attached to the mobile app as a thank you, and really immortalizing your names in the app isn't even enough of a thank you, in my opinion, to you guys who have donated, and if you do donate. So that will be on there as well. And guys, I'm so excited to share it with you. I really think we're going to hit our deadline. I feel like I have this feeling we're going to, and you guys have shown me a lot of hope and given me a lot of hope of getting this thing out. And I really do appreciate it. I will say this though, if we don't reach the $1,000 by the end of June, all of the donations get refunded. So it'll all have been for nothing. So I'm really hoping we hit that $1,000 mark. Like I said, the link to that Kickstarter campaign is in the description below. If you guys would share that out, even if you guys can't donate, at least share it out, because I know we all have friends that love Star Wars and could definitely use something like this app. So definitely let everybody know that this thing is coming. We just need a little bit of a bump. So I do appreciate that, guys, and I'll get off asking for money. That's not, I hate asking for money. So definitely go check that out, guys. All right, so let's get on to this other part of the show. Look, you guys have seen my mushy gushy side for the last 15 minutes. You're about to see a different side of me now. I got a mailbag question the other day that has me steaming, and normally I don't get mad at mailbag questions, but this one set me off for some reason. So I decided that I was going to do just a quick video. I shouldn't say quick video. I actually need to stop saying that. I was going to do a video just addressing this one mailbag question. How do you guys get a question on the Star Wars Canon Podcast? You guys can email it to me at starwarscanonpodcast@gmail.com. You can send me a message on Facebook at facebook.com/Star Wars Canon Podcast. Or if you're listening through the Anchor app or on anchor.fm, you can send me a voice message that way, and you might get to hear yourself on next week's show. So this mailbag question is interesting. And I came home from work after reading this, and I told Kirsty, I have to make a video. I have to address this because this is... Look, I get mailbag questions like this all the time. But for some reason, this one just rubbed me the wrong way. Maybe it's the underlying currents in the email. And when you guys see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. I feel like there's more between the lines. I'm trying to read between the lines of this email. Let's just get into it. I'm trying to delay the inevitable. Let's just get into it. This mailbag question comes from Tyler Payne. And Tyler says, "Hey there, Brian. Just wanted to write in an email and ask why you still bother with Disney's fan fiction. I have hated everything Disney has released, as have most of the fan base. If your channel was focused more on the true canon, the expanded universe, you would have many, many more subscribers and would be more successful than you are now." All right, let's talk about this. So I've broken this question down a lot. You guys see what I'm talking about with the underlying the currents. I've broken this question down into parts, and I'm going to answer it part by part. Matter of fact, I'm going to answer the second half of your question first. Or I shouldn't answer. I'm going to address it. About the expanded universe being the official canon. I don't even know where to start with this. So, I'm blanket comment. The Star Wars expanded universe was never considered canon by George Lucas. It was never considered canon. He respected it, yes. He knew that it existed, but he never considered it as part of his film canon. He never did. Matter of fact, he did an interview, 8 or 9 years ago, talking about the EU. And during that interview, he said this: "There's my world, which is the movies, and there's this other world that has been created, which I say is the parallel universe, the licensing world of the books, games, and comic books. I don't read that stuff. I haven't read any of the novels. I don't know anything about that world. That's a different world than my world. And now there have been novels about the events after episode 6, which isn't at all what I would have done with it. Once Vader dies, the Emperor doesn't get cloned, and Luke doesn't get married." He went on to say also that, he does keep in mind that it does exist. And if he's going to come up with a new name for something in one of his films, he tries to make sure that name hasn't been used before. He did go on to say that. But he never considered any of it as part of his official film canon. Had George Lucas actually went on to make episodes 7, 8, and 9 on his own, he wouldn't have done any of this EU stuff. None of it would have been consistent with the novels that came out. None of it would have. It's not just Disney that said, "Oh, none of this ever happened." George Lucas himself has said none of this ever happened. And it's not that Disney ignored it all. George Lucas was going to ignore it all. So I don't know why we're sitting here still to this day have these people beating their chests saying that the EU is canon. George Lucas considered that biblical canon. He didn't. He never did. The fans are the ones that considered that canon. It was the fans. If George Lucas considered any of that canon, why were the Clone Wars so much different than what was mentioned in the Heir to the Empire trilogy, in the Thrawn trilogy? If Lucas wanted to keep it all consistent, the Clone Wars we would have gotten would have been entirely different. And don't sit there and say Disney made Clone Wars, because they didn't. George Lucas made Clone Wars. He started Clone Wars. Hell, he's the one that initiated what the Clone Wars were in Attack of the Clones. I know we don't talk about Attack of the Clones, but still, it's one of those things where George Lucas didn't consider any of it canon. So I wanted to address that first, because oh my God, I get these comments all the time about people saying, you know, why don't you focus more on Legend stuff? Because this is the Canon podcast. That stuff's not canon. If Lucasfilm comes out tomorrow and says, hey, we're going to make these 7 novels from the EU canon, then yeah, they're canon. We'll add them. We'll talk about them. But until then, this is the Canon podcast. This is the Canon library. Nobody is telling you that you can't still enjoy those stories. Nobody is sitting here with a gun to your head saying that you are not allowed to read those books anymore. You're not allowed to read those stories anymore. You're not allowed to enjoy those stories anymore, because you still own them. Disney isn't sending out bounty hunters to knock down your door and take your Legends novels from you. They're not doing that. Do I think they need to be still releasing some Legends stuff for those fans? Yeah. I think Disney needs to sit down and really consider continuing the Legends material. I really think I get why they're not, because they said everything from now on is going to be canon. They don't want to confuse people. All you got to do is put that Legends banner at the top of it. That's all you got to do. You just put the Legends banner at the top, boom, go. Because there are fans out there that really do like the EU and really enjoyed those stories and want to see, you know, the continuation of those characters. Great. I do think that is something Disney needs to do. But as of this moment, who has the authoritative power to say what is canon and what isn't? Lucasfilm. They legally own it. What they say is canon. If they own it and say this is what our universe consists of, then that's what their universe consists of. What everybody else is saying, how they're talking about how the EU was canon, it never was. It was your head canon. The EU is your head canon. What you believe in your head actually happened. That's your head canon. I look at it kind of weird, because when you look at like the original theatrical versions of Star Wars, the actual like VHS tape versions, not the special editions before that, in my mind, the way I differentiate like the theatrical version of Star Wars from the canon version, from the Blu-rays, the VHS versions, those are the EU versions of the films. Basically, when you watch the VHS version, the future that you see, the future that ends up happening in those films is the Thrawn trilogy and everything like that. And when you look at the Blu-rays, the future that happens, whether I like it or not, is episodes 7, 8, and 9, and going on forward that way. Which is kind of a weird way I look at it. Don't judge me. So headcanon, you know, if you want to sit there and say this is what happened when Lucasfilm is saying this is what happened, that is your headcanon. Okay, and that's a real thing. Headcanon's a real thing. So that's really all I wanted to say about the EU. Moving on to canon itself. You said, let me pull your email back up here. You said in your email, I have hated everything Disney has released, as have most of the fan base. Okay. That tells me that you're not just talking about movies. You're talking about books, comics, everything. Because you were talking about the expanded universe, which is in the form of novels, comics, stuff like that, video games. So I'm assuming on the canon side, you're talking about the same thing that you've hated. There is no such thing as someone that hates all of the new canon. Capital A, capital L, capital L, all. There's no such thing as somebody who hates all of the new canon. And I'll tell you why in a second. Bear with me. We are, 6 years into this new canon? A New Dawn released in 2014. So yeah, we're like 6 years into this new canon. 5.5, 6 years, something like that. We'll say 6 years. In that 6 years, we have had 5 new films, 4 TV shows. I'm counting the last season of Clone Wars. 3 video games, 63 novels and books, and 416 comic issues as of today. That is everything we have in canon so far. And that's not counting short stories and everything. That's just the 5 main mediums that I keep up with. Okay? You're trying to tell me that you've read all of that and you've watched all of that and you've played all of that and you haven't found a single snippet of anything that you didn't like. You're trying to tell me that you have made it a point over 6 years to keep up on all of this stuff, because it's not easy and it's not cheap. We'll talk about that in a second. It's not cheap and it's not expensive. It's not easy. You've done all of that, but haven't enjoyed a single snippet of it. I call bullshit. I'm calling bullshit. I'm calling you out. I call bullshit. Let's talk about how expensive the new canon is, right? Let alone trying to keep up with it, right? Because this is pre Star Wars Canon Podcast mobile app era, right? So keeping up with all of it is already a pain in the ass. Paying for it is an entire another pain in the ass. 5 movies, okay? Average movie ticket nowadays is what, $20 if you want to go see it in IMAX? $20 a movie ticket. And that's if you go by yourself. 5 movies, that's $100 right off the bat that you've spent just to watch the 5 movies in movie theaters. Let's say, you bought the movies after they came out, which you might not have. If you didn't like them in theaters, you might not have bought them. But let's just say you did, because I didn't like Rise of Skywalker, but I still bought the Blu-ray just so I'd have them all. If you're trying to keep up with all of it, let's say you bought the Blu-ray to keep with everything. I bought the Steelbook edition from Best Buy of Rise of Skywalker, which was $40. So 40, actually every Steelbook I've bought was $40. So let's say $40 for 5 films, that's $200. Add that to the $100 you've already spent to watch them in theaters. Just on films alone, you've already spent $300 just to watch 5 movies. Let's talk about TV shows for a second. All the TV shows that have ever been released for Star Wars are now on Disney+. Okay? Let's say you didn't keep up with all of them as they came out and you just watched them all on Disney+. I'll give you the benefit of a doubt on that one. 4 TV shows, and like I said, I'm counting the last season of Clone Wars. Let's say you paid for 3 months of Disney+, so $20. Okay? Because 3 months, that's how long it's going to take to sit down and watch everything. Okay? And you're talking Rebels, Resistance, Clone Wars, Mandalorian. That's how long it's going to take to watch all of it. 3 video games. You've had Battlefront, which didn't have a lot of canon stuff in it. Battlefront 2 and Jedi Fallen Order. $60 a pop. That's $180 on video games. 63 novels and books, averaging at $20 a book. Averaging the price of 20, because some of them were a little more expensive than that, some were cheaper than that. Let's just say $20 a book. Just on novels and books alone, $1,260. I haven't even hit you with the big one yet. Comic books. Comic books are the most expensive Star Wars canon stuff there is. And you average what, $5 a comic issue nowadays? Yeah, that's probably about right. As of today, as of the recording of this video, there's been 416 comic book issues released. That's not counting some of the what were they called, the True Believer versions where they were re-released or reprinted or whatever. It's not even counting those. On average, $5 a comic issue. So that's $2,080 that you've spent on comic books so far. You add all of that up. That is $3,840. You're trying to tell me that you have spent almost $4,000 on something over the course of 6 years that you hated? Why are you still reading it? Why are you still keeping up with it? Why did you get through the first year with it? Why are you still reading it all after the first year if you never liked any of it? There's only 2 reasons I can think of this. There's only 2 reasons that I can come up with on why you would still be keeping up with it. One is you want something to complain about. That's really, I'm spending all this money on something I suck. Then why are you spending the money on it? Nobody has a gun to your head saying you have to buy it. Or you're holding out hope, hoping that at some point something is going to come out that you enjoy. That something is going to come along that you enjoy. During the last 6 years, we've had some great Star Wars storytelling in the new canon. But I feel like you wouldn't know that because I don't feel like you've even tried to keep up with any of it. If you didn't like Lost Stars, you're probably not going to find anything in the new canon you like. If you haven't liked any of the 3 Vader runs on comics so far, then you're probably not going to find something you like. If you read all of Claudia Gray's novels and you haven't found something you like in the new canon, then you're probably not going to find something in the new canon. It's not the new canon that you hate. Here, you don't hate the new canon. You don't, because I don't believe you've even given it the time of day to try. You don't like the new canon. You hate the fact that it exists. You hate the fact that there is a new canon. You hate the fact that Disney has come out and said everything we do from now on is canon. That's what you hate. You don't hate the fact that you don't hate the novels. You don't hate the comics. You don't hate the TV shows. You hate the fact that they exist in the first place when you don't even know anything about them. Now, granted, you might be sitting there going, you know what? I have spent all this money on all this stuff and I still hate all of it. You have to answer my question then. Why are you still spending all of this money on something you hate? And apparently you despise enough to try to send in an email to a podcast to somebody who enjoys a lot of it to get their answer. Obviously you hate it that much. Do I like everything in the new canon? No. I don't like everything in the new canon. I like 90% of it. I think it's pretty damn good. There's a lot of stories in there that I really do enjoy. Claudia Gray, an amazing writer. Timothy Zahn, who wrote EU, is now writing canon. You're trying to tell me that you love all of the EU so much, but you read everything in the new canon and you read Timothy Zahn's Thrawn and you didn't like it? Bullshit. I call complete and utter bullshit on you, sir. I'm not saying that you're wrong for liking the old canon. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying you're wrong for not liking what you have seen of the new canon. I'm not saying that either. I try to make it a point during my YouTube videos and during my podcast to respect the fact that other people have opposing opinions that I do. And honestly, and I feel like I'm one of the only people on YouTube that do that. I try to. I've gotten a lot of comments recently, a lot of positive comments from you guys lately talking about how it's great to have somebody that actually respects other people's opinions. That's great. So Tyler, I'm not telling you I'm not telling you that you're wrong for liking the EU more than you do the new canon. What I'm saying is you can't sit here and say that you hate everything when you and I both know damn good and well that you have not read everything, that you haven't even given it a chance. Because if you had given it a chance, you would have known there's some good stuff in there. There really is some good stuff. Like I said, not everything is universally loved, but there are things that the majority of the fan base actually do enjoy in the new canon. Lost Stars is one of them. The Vader comic runs are on point. Those are great Vader runs. Those are great comics. Jedi Fallen Order was the best Star Wars video game we've gotten since Knights of the Old Republic. Not better than Knights of the Old Republic, but since Knights of the Old Republic. Jedi Fallen Order was the best Star Wars game we've gotten since then. You can ask a majority of the fan base. They're going to agree with me. Not all of them, but the majority of them is going to. You said in your email, let me pull it up one more time. You said in your email, I have hated everything in Disney that Disney's released, as have most of the fan base. Well, that's simply not true. Because if the majority of the fan base hated everything that Disney's come out with so far, Disney wouldn't still be coming out with stuff. They wouldn't be. You're trying to tell me that the fans hated the films so much that 4 out of the 5 Star Wars films that we've gotten were over $1 billion films. Solo wasn't, but everything past that was? You're trying to tell me all these novels out here that they've come out with are just bestsellers for no reason? You're trying to tell me that Disney Plus has had so many subscribers? The number of subscribers crashed the service because they wanted Disney Plus. And yeah, you could probably sit there and say, oh, it's because they want the Disney films. That's cool. But then why the hell were Mandalorian and Clone Wars trending #1 on Disney Plus? How many weeks in a row while they were airing? That was the thing everybody was watching. You can't sit there and tell me that fans don't like everything the new Star Wars films and the Star Wars canon's done. You can't do that. Yeah, you want to know something? Honestly, my channel would probably be a little bit bigger if I focus more on Legend stuff as well. It probably would be. I admit that. You're right. But the difference between me and other YouTubers is I'm not trying to put out a YouTube channel to get rich and famous off of. And I'm not saying that's what their end goal is either. I'm just saying that's not my intention. My intention here at the Star Wars Canon Podcast and on the YouTube channel is to simply put my opinion out there. This is my opinion on stuff because I actually have read everything in the new canon. I actually do keep up on all of it. I actually have spent almost $4,000 on keeping up on the new canon material. And thank God I have a wife that puts up with me to the point where she lets me do that. I keep up on all this stuff because I care about it. And I'm not saying you don't care about Star Wars. Don't take that the wrong way. I care about these stories and these characters, and I care about keeping up on the universe that has honestly saved my sanity throughout my life. I feel like I owe it to Star Wars to know what's going on in the universe. And you want to know something? I've been rewarded for it. I've been introduced to characters that I absolutely loved, that I wouldn't have been introduced to otherwise. You know? Inferno Squadron. I never would have known anything about Inferno Squadron had I not played Battlefront, had I not read Battlefront 2. I probably wouldn't know anything about Ahsoka Tano had I not given Clone Wars a shot. There's so many things, so many times I've been rewarded by keeping up with this new stuff in other mediums. Like watching Rogue One and you see Chopper roll across the tarmac. Are you serious? That's awesome. You see the Ghost pop up in Rogue One and Rise of Skywalker. No matter how I feel about Rise of Skywalker, seeing the Ghost pop up was freaking awesome. So I've been rewarded. Other people who keep up with this stuff have been rewarded for this stuff. And it's great. So when I talk about stuff like this on my YouTube channel, yeah, like I said, there's stuff I don't like. And I let you know when I don't like it. But I don't sit here and bash the directors. I don't bash the authors. Actually, there is one author I did bash. I take that back. Kevin Hearn. But I haven't talked about him in a while. But I don't sit here and bash people for having a different opinion than me. I don't do it. And if I wanted 1 million subscribers, I would start focusing on Legend stuff too. I think the Canon Podcast is coming up on 1,600 subscribers, something like that. 15 or 1,600. That is 15 or 1,600 more than I ever thought in a million years that I would get. When I started the Star Wars Canon Library in 2015, I did it as a release for stress because I was going through a really hard time in my life. I had family members that had disowned Kirsty and I because of lies told by other family members. This huge drama fest. The same sister, by the way, which killed my father. I'll say that much. To give you an idea how deep it actually goes. So I was going through a lot in my time. I was going through a lot during that time of my life. And the Canon Library was really my output, my outlet for that stuff. Because Star Wars has always been something that I found that I love so passionately, and I wanted to share that passion with other fans, other people. And now it's grown into this thing. I remember when I hit 30, I remember the day I woke up and I had 32 subscribers. And I lost my mind. You can ask Kirsty. You can email Kirsty and ask her. You can message her on Facebook and ask her. I lost my mind when I found out I had 32 subscribers. The day I hit 100, I cried. Because that was 100 more subscribers than I ever thought I deserved. When I hit 1,000 last year, I hit 1,000 subscribers during Celebration last year. And I remember because some of my friends from Texas were up at the time, and we were all out in the kitchen on the table out there. And it was me, my buddy from Texas, his girlfriend, and then my other buddy that lives around here, and his girlfriend, and Kirsty. We were all sitting around. We were having a big Magic the Gathering tournament. That's what we do in our spare time. We talk about Magic the Gathering. And I remember looking at my YouTube channel, and I hit 1,000 subscribers. I'm like, no way. There's no way. And I almost cried because I never thought in a million years when I started it that I would get that many subscribers. So I'm very grateful for every subscriber that I have. I'm very grateful for everybody that wants to comment on my stuff, whether they agree with me or not. I'm grateful for just the interaction. I'm grateful that so many people care enough about me and my dream to want to donate to a mobile app that I'm wanting to develop, that I'm developing. That stuff means a lot to me. And to have somebody come along and ask me why I still bother doing any of it kind of rubs me the wrong way. And I'm going to call you out for it because you picked a hell of a weekend to do it. And, you know, with it being Memorial Day weekend, this is the one day, like I said earlier, this is the one day a year I have a beer for my buddies. And I'm already, you know, Memorial Day is a sacred holiday to me. And it's a rough holiday for me. And it's very bittersweet. It's very melancholy, especially now that I have my son. And, you know, there's a lot to the story that a lot of people don't know. And so I take Memorial Day very seriously. And it's the one time a year where I'm kind of on edge all the time because I'm just a thought away from, you know, hell. And to have this comment pop up, you caught me at a bad time with it. So I'm calling bullshit. And, you know, like I said, I'm not telling you you're wrong for liking the EU. I'm going to say it one more time. I know I'm being repetitive. I'm going to say it one more time. I'm not saying you're wrong for liking the EU. But don't sit there and turn around and bash somebody and a portion of the fan base that does enjoy something that you don't, simply for the fact of bashing them. I don't make it a point on my podcast all the time. I don't make it a point to say every single episode, the EU was never canon, this is what's actually canon, blah. I don't beat you over the head with it. I don't preach to you. But it seems like that's all EU fans do. Well, Disney isn't the real canon. That seems like that's the only thing you ever hear from EU purists, is what I call them. That seems to be all you hear from them. You don't hear that from people who are canon junkies. We're just busy enjoying all of the new stuff that's coming out. So take it as you will. You don't hate everything in the new canon. You hate the fact that there is a new canon. So let me know, guys, in the comments section below. What do you think? I'd love to hear y'all's opinions. And holy crap, I know I'm going to catch hell for this video, and that's perfectly okay. I don't have a problem with that. Let me have it. Put me in the crosshairs and just drop it on me. That's cool. So, guys, like I said, this isn't going to be a full episode because of it being Memorial Day weekend and everything like that. But I did want to address that comment. So thank you guys and gals for tuning in. I sure appreciate it. If you're new to the podcast or the YouTube channel and you like what you hear, be sure to give me a follow on whatever app or site you're listening to the podcast on. Make sure to give me a subscribe here on the YouTube channel. Keep an eye out for reviews coming up. Actually, on the next episode I do, we're going to be reviewing, this is kind of a big one, we're going to be reviewing the first of the comic issues in the new canon coming up chronologically. It's going to be a Yoda-centric thing. So I think it's issues 26 through 30 of Star Wars, I think is what we're going to be doing. So keep an eye out for that. We've got to have some interviews coming up here before long and some reaction videos for trailers, everything like that. As well as the Facebook page. Stay up to date on what's going on with the Star Wars Canon Podcast. Be sure to check out the Patreon account as well if you'd like to help support the Canon Podcast in any way. I would sure definitely appreciate it. Definitely make sure to check out the Kickstarter campaign, which the link to will be in the description of this video. If you'd like to get a question on the podcast, you can send it into StarWarsCanonPodcast@gmail.com, or if you have the Anchor app, you can record a message and send it to me that way. All those links can be found in the description below. Like I said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you guys for being some of the best community members I've ever seen on social media. Thank you guys so much for all of that. I do appreciate it. And until next time, guys, this is Brian signing off. And may the Force be with you.